What's cracking, big dogs? Welcome back to the HQ. Welcome back to the channel. Don't mind my headphones. This is the first time I've ever actually recorded with them, but something with the audio has been a little funky, so I had to keep these on to make sure everything is in check. We are live right now. I know I usually do this on Tuesdays, but I got up early. We broke down the slate. We got after the work this week. Thus, I'm able to bring this to you one day early. Now, this is my top waiver wire pickups, top waiver wire targets for week 6 of fantasy football. This will only be the very top level skim surface of my favorite pickups. Now, if you want the full thing in depth, you got to do that over at patreon.com/BDGE. That's where you will get my waiver wire weekly article, my weekly rankings, a private live stream that I do every Saturday for your 6-star questions, as well as access to a community and a forum. That's on patreon.com/BDGE. Let's talk some waiver wire. This is a wild week, man. A lot of monster scoring outputs. I actually want to know, drop a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards, or if you're in the chat, whatever. What was the highest score you saw in a league this week? Because there was like fucking 8 players that scored 50-plus points. In one of my leagues, the NYC league, I threw up a 260. I think I put up 260 points while having Will Fuller on the bench. So I had Russell Wilson. I had actually, I'm gonna just pull it up for y'all right now. So that was my highest scoring thing, and there's no bonus points in that. There was 2 flexes and a super flex, so it wasn't like a wild scoring setting or anything. I'd imagine people who have bonus scores probably went over like 350. We had Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson at quarterback, who put up about 90 points between the two of them. Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, who put up 90 points between the two of them. Allen Robinson, Panthers defense, Austin Eckler, Tyler Lockett all went over double digits, if not 20 points. So we ended up with 263 points in that league. That was the highest score I've seen amongst all of my leagues this week, but I'm sure someone hit that like fucking gorgeous, perfectly executed lineup this week. I want to know what your highest scoring was. So we have a 350 in here. All right. Let's talk some waiver wire. So I will not be taking any Q&As right now, by the way. If anyone's in the chat, please do not send. I'm going to save y'all some money if you do end up sending super chats. Don't send me money. Don't send me super chats, because I will not be answering the questions in the chats right now, y'all. So save yourself some money. Go buy a fucking coffee or something. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to talk quarterbacks first. We'll break it down into running backs and wide receivers, and then tight ends after that, as any waiver wire show shall go. Let me turn off the AC real quick. Okay, for quarterbacks, I'll start off by saying this is an extremely weak league. Weak. WEAK for the waiver wire in general. I will probably be spending almost $0 of fab this week, considering I do not play in one quarterback leagues, but there are a few good quarterbacks on the wire. I like Matt Stafford this week as a possible pickup, 53% owned. I know he is going against the Packers next week. Dak Prescott just threw up a 463 spot on the Packers. They do have a good pass defense, obviously. That was a product of the game script and him having to throw the ball a lot. But Stafford has historically played very, very well against the Packers. Over their last 6 matchups, Stafford has averaged 310 passing yards and 2.3 passing touchdowns per game against the Packers. When they're in Lambeau, he averages even more. He averages over 335 passing yards per game, 2.3 passing touchdowns. So I don't hate Stafford as someone. It's almost like a contrarian play at this point. Josh Allen is a very good pickup. If you are in a one quarterback league, I would suggest getting Josh Allen and storing him as your second quarterback. He has a week 6 bye, so you're obviously not going to be able to play him this week. But after the week 6 bye, the schedule is ridiculous. It's Miami, Philadelphia, Washington, at Cleveland, at Miami. So you'll be able to throw Josh Allen in your quarterback spot for basically the next 5 weeks coming out of their bye. He's been really solid this year. He's given you 16 fantasy points as a floor week in and week out. The only dud game that he had was against the Patriots, which is the best defense in the NFL at this point. So I like Josh Allen. I like Matt Stafford. Gardner Minshew seems like he is obviously the real deal. He's putting up numbers. So all 3 good streaming options. Now, at the wide receiver position, man, things get very tricky. There's no one that I absolutely love on the wire. Last week, we had Cortland Sutton, who I said I would use the number 1 waiver wire on. He is obviously owned in much greater than 60% of Yahoo leagues. All of the waiver wire targets that I talk about in today's video, as well as in the waiver wire write-up on patreon.com/BDGE, all owned in 60% or fewer of Yahoo leagues. I don't hate DK Metcalf right now. He hasn't seen a lot of volume over like the last month or so. I believe he has like 13 targets, 5 catches over the last 3 weeks. But he had another touchdown on Monday or Thursday Night Football. He caught 2 of 3 targets, 44 yards, and a touchdown. He has a bunch of things going for him, though. One, I mean, he's a wide receiver for fucking Russell Wilson, who is absolutely on fire. He will contend for the league MVP if he keeps up what he's doing right now. He is playing on 85% of the snaps for the Seahawks, even with David Moore back into the depth chart. And he's being targeted where it counts. Like, the valuable targets in fantasy football are the ones that DK Metcalf is getting. Right now, he is currently tied with Kenny Golladay for the NFL lead in end zone targets. Metcalf has 7 end zone targets on the year. He's also tied for the 6th most deep targets in the NFL with 10 of them right now. So those coming from Russell Wilson are obviously very, 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 very valuable. I'm not going to, spend everything I have on DK Metcalf right now, but I think you could do worse than him as like a flex play going forward. He is the wide receiver 2, obviously behind Lockett in this offense, and he will have his boom bust games. But even if you don't believe in the talent, I was not someone that was high on him as a player. But if you're just going to get Russell Wilson throwing him deep balls game in and game out, those are going to connect. I don't want to say more often than not, but almost like a coin flip. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver group, right? We saw that Sunday Night Football game, and at this point, Patrick Mahomes has basically shown us that just wide receivers don't matter. Actually, tight ends don't matter. Running backs don't matter. He is just the exception to every single rule, except for the rule that they have to win the fucking game because the Colts beat them. It was a big L for the Chiefs, man. After they laid the smackdown on the Colts in the playoffs last year, they came back strong. They stuck to the game plan. They look really fucking good running the ball against this Chiefs run defense, which is fucking atrocious. But we look at the situation. Sammy Watkins, obviously, since I had him in my lineup, he played on 2 snaps, right? He appeared on the injury report last week, like Thursday or Friday, with a hamstring, a shoulder, all banged up. Ended up being active for the game. They tested him out in pregame warmups, ended up being active, played 2 snaps, and then went directly to the locker room. So after that, we had Byron Pringle, huge hype guy this summer, coming in and filling in basically for Watkins. And the snap counts went as follows. Demarcus Robinson, 58, Byron Pringle, 49, Mecole Hardman, 38. What was interesting was that Mecole Hardman played in the slot on 54% of his snaps. Byron Pringle was right there with 45% of his snaps being in the slot while playing 11 more snaps than Mecole Hardman. It's very difficult to project what's going to happen because we have Watkins leaving, so it seems like he suffered a setback, which puts him questionable at best for his for their Week 6 game. And then you have Tyreek Hill. Does he come back in Week 6? Does he wait another week? We don't really know. So there's a lot of moving parts to this wide receiver group. Will I spend a lot on any of the guys there outside of, obviously, Tyreek Hill, who's not on your fucking waiver wire, so I don't know why I'm bringing them up. But no, I will not. I'll be fine owning any of the 3 guys behind Hill and Watkins. I kind of hope that Watkins is I hope they just put him on the IR. I hope he has a strained hamstring and he's day-to-day, and they just are like, fuck you, Watkins. We're putting you on the IR because you are trash, because that's what he's been for every fantasy football player thus far. No one started him in Week 1. If you did, you're an asshole. But no one started him. That's when he had his big game. And still, because of that Week 1 game, he's like top 7 in fantasy wide receivers. Hasn't done shit since. So I hope he gets out. I hope he's done with the Chiefs so I could stop playing him in my lineup. This is really just like an insecurity thing for me because I just keep playing him every week, hoping, what would happen is if I didn't play him, that's when he has the monster fucking game. And I couldn't live with myself. We don't live with regret, people, except I fucking regret playing Sammy Watkins every single week. So Sammy Watkins, I think what's going to happen, Tyreek Hill is going to come back. Obviously, he is a primary outside receiver. They do a good job of getting all their receivers kind of moving around in the formation and playing slot, playing outside. But Hill's going to be a primary outside wide receiver, which I think hurts more Demarcus Robinson and Byron Pringle as guys who are a little bit bigger, guys who are outside wide receivers. Although with Watkins out, that kind of opens that right back up for these other guys. I do think the ones that are playing primarily in the slot, like the Hardman and the Byron Pringle right now, we'll have to see. That might have been like just a one-game thing where they were just playing the hot hand with Pringle. Since they are running the majority of the routes from the slot, both of those guys could be playing a heavy dosage even when Tyreek Hill returns. So again, I'm not going to break the bank on any of these guys, but I wouldn't, kind of hate owning one of them and just seeing how this situation fluidly plays itself out in Kansas City. I also just want to give a shout out to fucking Mohamed Sanu because he's been so consistent over the last few weeks. Matt Ryan is throwing the ball at a ridiculous rate right now. And after the waiver wire segment, I think I'm going to jump into some other random like stats and usage and production breakdown that I came away with this morning while doing my research for the waiver wire articles. So stay tuned for that at the end. Again, if you enjoy these videos, if you enjoy any of the value that I provide, if you enjoy watching me struggle throughout these videos, because I do, man, this shit is hard to just sit here and spew out nonsense from my mouth for 45 straight minutes. All I ask is that you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're doing fantasy football nonsense like this 5-6 days a week. You can check us out for more exclusive content on patreon.com/BDGE. Yeah, just quick shout out to Mohamed Sanu, man. If you're in a PPR league and you don't own Mohamed Sanu, I really don't know what you're doing. The guy puts up like 13 fantasy points every single week. This team is incapable of running the ball, the Falcons. They are also incapable of playing pass defense. Thus, Matt Ryan is throwing the ball more than he ever has. This was a stat that I came away with this morning. He has already attempted 45 or more pass attempts in 3 games this year. He attempted 45 or more pass attempts in 2 games all of last year. He is throwing the ball at a ridiculous rate. And they're going to continue doing this because as long as Dirk Cutter is there, this will continue to happen. They travel to Arizona in week 6, where Mohamed Sanu is running from the slot, will face a team that just let up 10 receptions, 123 yards, and a tug to Tyler Boyd, who runs out of the slot despite everyone being dead in the wide receiver group for the Bengals. So Mohamed Sanu is a great pickup in PPR leagues. No one else I love on the waiver wire. Again, all the guys that I really like I'll have like 7 or 8, maybe even 9 guys listed for every single position in the waiver wire article, which is on Patreon. So if you want more in-depth and you're in deeper leagues or something like that, that's where to go. I'll have the fab spend that I would use on them, whether or not I'd use the number 1 waiver wire pickup on them. And for all y'all that are patrons, this will be dropping on Tuesday. I usually do the video on Tuesday right after I drop it, but we're doing the video on Monday, dropping the article on Tuesday. All right, let's move over to the running back position. This is literally the worst waiver wire week if you are running back needy I've ever seen. There is not one guy you could pick up and confidently say to yourself, okay, I can get not even like 5 points out of a guy on the waiver wire. The only guy that would be worth even spending more than $1 a fab on is Chase Edmonds, assuming that David Johnson, for some reason, not for some reason, but he's dealing with this back spasm issue, whatever the fuck it is, he misses time. So Chase Edmonds, is nothing more than any of these other guys, Tony Pollard to Zeke, Alexander Madison to Dalvin Cook, any of those situations, he's the handcuff. That is it. There will be games in which he gets touches like this Sunday where he did really well, but that's it. He's just the second punch in a one-man backfield. However, David Johnson was in and out because of something with his back, and then Coach Cliff Kingsbury came out and said he didn't, say he was confident that he'll be playing next week. So it's just something to monitor. If you're a David Johnson owner, I would definitely make sure that you own Chase Edmonds. If David Johnson misses time, then Chase Edmonds pretty much becomes a workhorse in this Cardinals offense that is throwing the ball to David Johnson at a very, 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 very high rate. So Chase Edmonds would be the guy. Otherwise, there's fucking nothing on the waiver wire. Wayne Gallman left the game with a concussion. They play on Thursday night, so there's basically a 0% chance he is back. You have this guy fucking John Hillman who took over, ran for like 2.5 yards per carry. He averaged 3.5 yards per carry in college. That is an automatic, nope, he's off my list. Like, there's no way he's going to do anything in the NFL. They also have this guy, Elijah Penny. So Hillman saw like 65% of the snaps once Gallman left. Elijah Penny took the other 35% of the snaps. Elijah Penny's fucking 244 pounds, runs a 4.8, 640. He's a fullback. That's what he is. So there's no one in this backfield I want. Plus the fact that Saquon Barkley might be back next week. Probably the week after, but maybe this week. So it's like there's nothing that you want in this backfield from the waiver wire. No one else I want on the waiver wire. It is officially Chris Herndon week at the tight end position. He is done with his suspension. He will be returning. Sam Darnold hopefully will fucking be done with this mono nonsense and back in the lineup. So we can expect Chris Herndon to be full go, their starting tight end, and continue to produce where he was producing last season. So if you have been streaming the tight end position, he is only owned in 29% of leagues. I cannot believe that he is still so widely available in Yahoo leagues. Go grab Chris Herndon if you can. If you've been streaming the tight end position, he is a guy to go grab right now. The other guy that's really intriguing to me right now is Gerald Everett. I did a pretty large write-up on Gerald Everett in the waiver wire article this week. And he exploded, obviously, in their game in week 5, coming off of 2 back-to-back strong performances, right? 8 targets, 5 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown against Tampa Bay. In week 4, 7 catches on 11 targets, 136 yards in week 5, averaging 19.4 yards per reception in this game. So Everett is now, right? It's always been like Everett and Tyler Higbee kind of cannibalizing each other. One has a big game, then the other has a big game, or neither of them have big game for like 3 weeks at a time. So it was never, you can never, ever, ever feel any sort of confidence playing any of these guys in your lineup. However, Everett's a ridiculously good athlete. If you go over to playerprofiler.com, right, and all this stuff is included in the write-up, of course. If you go over fucking TylerHigbee.com, playerprofiler.com, you look at Gerald Everett, you look at Tyler Higbee, it seems like the Rams have been using these fucking guys all wrong. They've been splitting snaps in terms of like routes run all of the last couple seasons. Gerald Everett has taken off, and he is starting to play on like 80% of the snaps compared to about 50 to 55% for Tyler Higbee. And he is outrunning him in terms of routes by almost a 3-1 margin right now. And Everett is becoming the guy who is almost an every down player while running routes, from the inline formation. Over the last 2 weeks, top 5 in terms of routes run at the tight end position in each of the last 2 weeks. So he is legitimately up there with Travis Kelce, with those guys in terms of how many routes he's running per game. He's like Jordan Reed, 6'3", 240, runs a 4.62 40-yard dash. He was a guy who produced heavily at college at South Alabama, second-round draft pick, 74th percentile weight-adjusted speed score. He's in the 81st percentile in terms of agility and burst score or above. Very, 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 very good athlete. And they've been using Tyler Higbee in this like receiving role as well, when Tyler Higbee is the blocking guy. He's way bigger, 6'6", 250-ish, is not fast, is not explosive, is not agile, whatever. Those are the things you look for in a breakout tight end. And we're starting to see it with Everett. Now, I will preface this with Jared Goff and his passing offense is throwing at an unbelievable high volume, especially over these last 2 weeks. What we're seeing, Everett's routes run have been boosted heavily, as well as his production overall have gone up a crazy, crazy level because Jared Goff has attempted, I believe it was, let me pull up the tweet I had. He's out attempted every quarterback, and it's not even close over the last 2 weeks. Let's see. Jared Goff has thrown for 912 passing yards over the past 2 weeks. That's 155 more yards than Lamar Jackson and Carson Wentz combined during that span. Obviously, they've played 4 games. I thought I had something else with Jared Goff, but his attempts, I believe, are 18 more than the next highest guy, Matt Ryan, over the last 2 weeks, which is a ridiculous rate. And it's obviously not sustainable because they've been in these monster shootouts, but it seems like they just don't care about establishing the run whatsoever, which has been a huge piece of their offense over the last 2 years. And Brandon Cooks just suffered a concussion, I believe. He might be out for next week. Actually, I'm not sure if I've seen any updates on Brandon Cooks. But I put out a good thread on Twitter about Gerald Everett. So if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you're doing that. It's at Nick_BDGE. So you can go to twitter.com/Nick_BDGE, and then you can go follow me there and blah, 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 blah. Let me pull up Brandon Cooks and see if we have any update on the young man. Unzi young man. Has been placed in the concussion protocol. Yep, he didn't return in week 5. So he's a few extra days with the Rams. Oh, because they played on Thursday Night Football. So he has about 10 days to recover from it. So we'll see what happens with that. If he's out, obviously they'll be looking for more playmakers in the offense by a guy of Gerald Everett. So Everett's a great athlete, starting to see the receiving chops come into play. It's very possible that he goes like fucking 2 for 27 next week, but we also could be in the midst of a tight end breakout, and everything athletics-wise and production-wise says that would not be too crazy. Quick look at defensive streams of the week. There are not a lot of good streams this week. There are not a lot of home favorites that are unowned in Yahoo. Very, 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 very early look right now. And again, guys, for all y'all that are always like, what about the Patriots? Like, they're owned in 99% of leagues. So everything is 60% of leagues or less. So the Dallas Cowboys, 53% owned. They will be playing against the Jets. They're 8.5-point favorites, 43.5 over-under. Again, my streaming rule of thumb is you take favorites. You want a defense that's supposed to win the game. This is per Vegas, right? DraftKings Sportsbook. You want a defense that's supposed to win games. You want a defense playing at home because home field advantage is very underrated. You want a defense playing at home, and you want a game that's either a low over-under total, so not a lot of points scored, or a high over-under total, but the spread of the game must be bigger. Like if the over-under of the game is 55 points, you want to make sure that the team that you are streaming is at least a heavy favorite. So the other team is supposed to be playing catch up. Obviously, more pass attempts leads to more sacks, more interceptions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Cowboys, the only exception here is that they are playing at New York. So they will be on the road, but they are 8.5-point favorites. I'm assuming the line might move a little bit depending on what Sam Darnold's status is. 8.5 is pretty favorable. So it almost seems like they're making the line right now, assuming he is out. And maybe that changes if he is back in the lineup. But 8.5 is big. The other one is Green Bay. They're 30% owned. They will be playing against Detroit. They're at home in Lambeau. They play a lot better defense at home. They're only 4.5-point favorites, but that still gives them the slight edge, and there's a 47-point over-under. They've been very good in 3 out of the 4 games that they've played so far, or 4 out of the 5 games that they've played so far. They had the one shitty game 2 weeks ago, which was kind of a surprise. But other than that, they've been good. But these aren't great streaming options this week. Hopefully you have the Chargers, who are playing against probably the Mason Rudolph-less Steelers, or again, you just have the fucking Patriots, who I don't even care who they're playing. They just get it done every single week. Those are probably my favorite defensive streams for the week, although I'm using the word favorite very, very loosely there. Let's talk about some other stuff that happened this week that is important to the fantasy football world. I tweeted out some stuff about the Chargers backfield usage. And I have a chart here that's on Twitter that obviously y'all are not actually seeing right now, which sucks because a lot of you guys ask me after I do the live streams, like, can you put timestamps in the description? But it's like, it's live. I do this live stream and then it goes immediately live on YouTube. So I can't like go back and actually I could put some shit in the description, but I choose not to. My lazy ass won't. So sometimes I talk about charts and stuff during the live stream that I cannot edit into it. So we break down the Chargers backfield yesterday. Snap-wise, Eckler had 46 snaps to Melvin Gordon's 32. However, I mean, that's a big gap, right? 14 snaps more for Eckler. However, 13 of Eckler's snaps came out wide or in the slot. So that was over 28% of Eckler's snaps actually were basically as a receiver. So in terms of backfield snaps, they were almost about even. Now, Melvin Gordon saw 80% of the rushes. He saw 12 of the 15 running back carries yesterday. He got 2 red zone carries. He got the only goal line carry inside the 5-yard line of the backfield mates. Austin Eckler only saw 3 carries. However, the passing game was a monster difference, right? The Chargers got down by 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, like right off the rip, and they were basically playing catch up the rest of the game. They saw very little offensive success, to obviously lean more towards Eckler's game, leading to 16 targets, 15 catches. Those 15 catches for a running back were the most of a running back since 1980. That is almost 40 fucking years. 15 catches in a game, the most by a running back since 1980. Eckler had a monster game through the air. However, Gordon also saw 6 targets, had 4 catches. So don't let those numbers that Eckler had like downplay the involvement that Melvin Gordon still had in the receiving game. The production was not there for Melvin Gordon, but the usage was good because 6 targets along with 80% of the rushing work, I don't hate that for his first game back to action. Eckler was phased out of the rushing game, which is where a lot of the production came from him in terms of like rushing touchdowns. He got a lot of those, and it seems like Melvin Gordon's going to get all these red zone carries. The other thing to note here is that Eckler, he saw a couple targets inside the 5-yard line, but he fumbled again on the 1-yard line on one of the receptions that he had. That is not the first time that he has done that. It's like the second or third time this year, including the preseason, that he's done that. So it's possible that they just move away from Eckler if he's going to keep fumbling in these clutch situations, moving away from him near the end zone and giving those to Melvin Gordon. So that's a situation to monitor. But it seems like a pretty big even split right now. It's not like I expected Melvin Gordon to go right back into his 80% touch role, but 18 opportunities, 6 targets, 12 carries compared to 3 carries for Eckler, 16 targets. They're at a near even split in terms of the opportunities, but I think that will slowly start to make its way back over to Melvin Gordon. Let's talk about some other random tweets that I fired off today. So wide receiver leaders in terms of touchdowns is a percentage of their overall touches. So the leaders in terms of touchdowns accounting for the highest percentage of their touches. Adam Thielen right now, 24% of his touches have gone for touchdowns. Tyrell Williams is second. Mike Evans is third. Kenny Golladay fourth. Alshon Jeffrey fifth. Those guys have the highest percentage of their receptions, touches, whatever, go for touchdowns. Now, NFL leaders in terms of total touches without scoring a touchdown in 2019. Royce Freeman leads the NFL. He has 71 touches without scoring a touchdown. Miles Sanders is second, 63 touches. Chris Thompson, 45. Matt Breida, 44 touches in fourth place. He's only played in 3 games, while these other guys have, for the most part, played in 5. And then Kenyon Drake, 44 touches without a touchdown. So those are top 5 in terms of touches without scoring touchdowns, which usually means positive regression in the touchdown category, but does not always mean that, because there might be other guys who are taking the goal line opportunities. It might just be a terrible fucking offense like Kenyon Drake is in. So a lot of nonsense going on. What else do we got? Sony Michel, his 32 receiving yards on Sunday were a higher total than his last 14 games combined, including their playoffs last year. Way to go, Sony. Way to get involved. Way to get your feet wet a little bit. Your hands wet, I guess we should say. Of 31 running backs with more than 40 carries in 2019, Le'Veon Bell's 2.9 yards per carry ranks dead last. I'm going to give a shout out to Julie Ertz's husband, who finally got into the end zone for his first touchdown yesterday. I want to give a shout out to Will Fuller for being on my bench in the E-Town Get Down. I ended up losing by 40. And Will Fuller was sitting on my bench with 44 or whatever. Last minute decision, I decided to sit him for Sammy Watkins and Melvin Gordon. Either of those guys I could have filled in and won my week. So shout out to Will Fuller for being an asshole. And DeAndre Hopkins also, huge asshole. I kind of need some production from you, fam. Oh, boy. Okay, so that's all we have for now, y'all. I love y'all. Thank you for joining me. If you are joining via YouTube after the live stream, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. Yes, I am live right now. I'm very, very, very live. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. We have 460 people in here and only 71 thumbs up. What are y'all doing? What is y'all doing? Head over to patreon.com/BDGE. If you want the waiver wire article, if you want all of the players in depth that I'm talking about right now, my weekly rankings, a private live stream, all that good stuff. Patreon.com/BDGE. I hope y'all enjoy Monday Night Football. Who we got? We got the 49ers and we got the Cleveland Browns. I don't know. I'm fucking done with football for this week. I'm done. You know what's funny? Like week 1 of the NFL season hits, I'm done. I'm finished with football. I want no more of that shit. Soon as football ends, I miss it so bad. I miss it. I miss it as much as I miss y'all. But I'll see you on Wednesday for our trade targets video. I love y'all. Yes, I love Zendaya as well. Bye.